You think 8 shots would be enough? But those things are once the down. You still got your stare, you want your stupid smiles when you know your car's got room for mouth. I always hated you in lies. You still come dribble out my mouth. We're on to the brim of shit and piss exceptions to the road. Yeah, none of us will seem to mind. Better days will not be left behind. Insecure but days we're meant to hide. Whoa, better days will come and come inside. So let's hope things turn against me over the line.
Y'all are on These Fan Dan Shit Show.
How's it going, Greg?
Good, really good. Apologies, I am broadcasting from a Starbucks. I hope the inspirational dance music isn't cutting in too bad.
Well, no, it's fine, man. How's it going?
Good, really good. I've been on tour now for like almost 2 weeks, and shows have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Aside from a couple days off around New Year's Eve, which is just tough for a guy like me to try to book a New Year's show, everything has been beyond expectation, and having a really good time on the island too.
Yeah, awesome, man. Where did you play last night?
I was in Campbell River. I did a basement show. This cool homie named Byron did one. It was really, really good. Wednesday, you always kind of expect, like, you brace for that. Like, if 3 people are there and one of them is me, so be it. I'm still gonna play, but it was packed. It was really, really fun.
Fuck yeah. I saw on your tour dates that you're playing the Gray Lab tomorrow. Or
No,
that's tomorrow's the terminal here in
correct.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Saturday, Gray Lab.
Oh, nice. It's on Main Street. Did it used to be called the Black Lab?
Sort of. So I got the story, but also don't necessarily quote me, like get it from the people who actually work there. But a lot of people that worked at Black Lab started Gray Lab, so it's like inspired, but they wanted it to be very clear, at least when I asked about it, this is not Black Lab 2. This is a new thing.
Okay,
But
sweet.
I was actually in town when I'm not doing this. I work as an audio technician. I was in town working in Vancouver in December, so I got to actually go down, like check out the space. It's really, really cool. It's like Black Lab, similar vibe, but just kind of like they got to kind of start fresh. So I
Oh,
think this is gonna be a
nice.
really cool spot for years and years. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I used to live in Vancouver. I used to live right across the street. So like I would
A Black Lab or a
y-
Gray Lab?
no, the Black Lab.
Oh, gnarly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was back in my party days. Yeah. So where are you from, man?
I'm from Winnipeg, born and raised. I grew up in North Kildonan, way in the suburbs. And then I moved downtown when I was like 17 years old, and been downtown Winnipeg ever since. But these days, especially, I'm on the road about 6 months of the year. So I kind of feel like I live everywhere. I live wherever there's an internet connection.
Yeah, pretty much. You're probably like a drifter at this point.
Yeah, for example, this Starbucks is home today.
Yeah, I saw a wicked video of you. Pretty much you're like a one-man punk band.
Yeah, I've used that a bunch of times. I tread lightly on the one man band thing because it has such a cheese factor to it, right? It just feels like you imagine the guy with the big kick drum on the back and like as he's like playing guitar. It's
Yeah.
not quite that. It's more like I wanted to kind of do a punk, like a one person punk show where it needs some type of like percussion part. It needs to be loud. And I saw a band play years and years ago, this was before I even started the act, where as they were playing, they all had kind of like little things they were stomping on too. They were all doing the percussion. And that's kind of what inspired of like, I just need that, but like bigger. And
Yeah.
that was in 2010. I started writing songs, and literally 15 years later, and it's better now than it's ever been. I'm on the road, like I said, about 6 months of the year, all over the States, all over Europe, all over Canada. I've made so many friends everywhere that look forward to coming to see me. And then to find new people like last night that never seen me isn't that hard too. So really, really lucky, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I love your style. You got like a bit of like a kind of like a folk punk thing going on. Um, yeah, I love it. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So many of my friends, when they gave up the band or the band broke, whatever the reason they started the solo thing, so many of them was more like a singer-songwriter thing, and that's just not me. I even tried to do some quieter stuff where I just played like electric. And as much as it was like fun to do, I just love music. It never felt like this would be something I'd want to put a lot of energy into.
mm,
And when I started writing songs with like the stomp box and, just kind of like you play for an hour and you're just drenched in sweat, like that's what I want it to be. So I'm really, really stoked that I've been part of the scene forever and I'm excited where it's going to lead.
yeah, man. So like, how did you get into music? Like, how did you fall in love with it, I should say?
I mean, if you want to go way back to the genesis of it, I did take some piano lessons as a child,
Oh, sweet.
which is like maybe that gave you some, you're just around music, like your ear starts to develop. You can hear several notes and you could distinguish like one of those notes don't fit or whatever. It wasn't until I was a teenager though, and I started learning about bands that were underground bands.
Mm,
Up until then, of course I knew about like Bon Jovi and stuff like that, like the big bands that play the arenas, and it seemed so inaccessible. And as I got more into the local scene, I got to know some people actually playing bands locally in Winnipeg. And that's when it just opened up that, and this is also like we're going way back to the 90s. This is pre-internet. Like the world is just what's outside the door and that's it. And you see these cool posters by your junior high school of like concert tonight at the Western Cultural Center in Winnipeg. And you'd go and you'd meet a bunch of kind of like-minded people. And that was the point where I realized like not only do I love music, playing and all that, I love this scene. This is something I want to be a part of. I want to, people kind of like-minded people that are cool, that inspire me, and hopefully I inspire them. I want to dedicate my life to that. And my secret, not that I'm like incredibly successful. I mean, a lot of my shows are pretty small indie shows. At the same time, I've been doing it for so long and consistently because I have a job. When I'm not doing this, I work as an audio technician. And that's always the best advice I try to give people that are trying to get into this. And it doesn't have to be music. It could be like, I want to be a writer. I want to do film. I want to do anything artistic. I want to do paintings. Find a career where you could do it. You can make actual money. At the same time, it allows you space to still do your art. And for me, audio was that because it's really busy at certain points of the year and dead at certain points of the year. So I can work really hard, make some money, put it in the bank, and then I can go on tour. And if the tour doesn't make money or bills come up, whatever happens, you have something to land on. I know a lot of people that have like kind of moved out to Toronto or LA to, live the dream. Within a year or two, they're flat broke, no hopes of ever getting out of it, declare bankruptcy, and that's it. Like they've kind of been forced to give up. Where I've kind of taken smaller bites. I've, every tour I've done a little bit more, and I've always had a job to kind of support that. I know it's kind of like heartbreaking to not be like, give it all up, man, and just do music. That's what you got to do. That's how you make
it
it.
doesn't
But
work like that,
for my
man.
exactly, like
Yeah.
I've been any opportunity I've had, it's been a lot of luck, a lot of hard work. At the same time, to play the right concert, to meet the right person, to send an email at the right time, to get on the right festival, like all that stuff is rolling the dice. People have been luckier than me, but I acknowledge I've still been really, really lucky, and not everyone gets these opportunities. But I've also been able to, like, my piece is always on the board. I never have to take it out, quit, and like, now I have to just work full time for blah, blah, blah. I've always had a career that works alongside the music project.
Awesome. So yeah, I want to get into kind of this tech stuff because I didn't know that you did that. What so like you record for like other bands too?
No. So I always say like recording and live sound. It's like
Oh, okay, yeah,
farming
yeah.
and cooking. So I'm a live sound tech. Like farming and cooking, you both deal with food, but in different ways. Same with live and recording. Recording guys have a different, or recording people have a different set of skills to kind of make
Audio
it happen.
engineer?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So anything from like something as simple as I'm on crew pushing some boxes into the arena to like I am running the show. The gig I just had, I was actually out with the RWB with the Royal Winnipeg Ballet. And one of the shows we had an orchestra, all the rest was just playback. So you're just wearing a headset like I am right now, and you're waiting for the go. You hit spacebar and just kind of ride the fader, make sure it sounds okay.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like really cool crew. A bunch of the dancers are really rad. We all went for beers at one point. It was a fun gig. As much as I'm like ballets and my thing, it's funny when I tell people too. I'm like, I'm going out with the ballet. They're like dancing. I'm like, no. Do I look like a dancer? but but stuff like that. It started where I was just doing stuff at bars, just volunteering the odd time and helping the guy plug in mics. That led to me doing some shifts at bars. That led to getting hired on with an audio company, and now I'm basically just an independent contractor. I do sound gigs when available in Winnipeg. I work with a lot of festivals. Anything from working a board to making sure the festival kind of unfolds properly. And I love it. I really, really lucky that not only do I get to play music, my side career is also something I really enjoy.
Nice. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Um, have you been to Nanaimo before? Like, have you
Yeah,
toured around here before?
yeah. I do a tour every January, and it's almost every January. One or two, maybe I didn't come to the island. I always try to. And over the years, like remember playing at a place called the Vault. It's
Oh
that
yeah, for
big
sure.
pink building. Is it still there, or is it something else now?
Uh, Vault. I think the name has changed. Yeah, I
But the big
think
old
so.
pink building's still there, probably.
Oh yeah,
I'll
yeah,
have to check it out. But I
yeah,
played there a couple times over the years. The Nanaimo bar has been kind of a home
yeah,
for a long time. I played there hundreds of times, maybe not hundreds, I'm exaggerating. A few other places, and then Terminal, it used to be the Canby. Do I got that right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I played that years ago, but I think probably one time since then. But I was always kind of in town on like a Wednesday, and Nanaimo bar or whatever, like some smaller place always seemed to be like the better decision. Finally being a weekend, it's at Terminal this time. I'm pretty excited too. Nanaimo has always been pretty good, but I haven't played on a weekend since who knows when. So hoping a few more people come out and
yeah.
support.
Um, who's on the bill tomorrow?
Oh man, you put me on the spot.
I
Andrew,
saw
what is
some.
his?
I saw some names. I can't remember though.
Yeah, I am frantically scrambling now to look at the message again. And this is, I hope I don't seem like I'm shitty for not having it
No, it's all good,
memorized. I
man.
just play so many shows.
Um, yeah, the owner of
Andrew, what is your name?
the
Yeah,
owner's
George,
a
keep
pretty
going.
good guy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Andrew, I'm I can't find it here, but he is, darn it. Andrew is the dude, and he does like live looping kind of stuff. And I think he does a whole bunch of stuff. I don't even know what he's really bringing. The stuff I checked out might not be what he's doing that night. Um, but Devin, the guy who booked it, was pretty like, oh man, it's going to be a really good show. He brings the crowd.
Regular John and Steve Plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So regular John, I hope I didn't screw that up because in the message he goes by Andrew, but
Yeah.
regular John's going to be red,
Yeah.
and then Steve. I'm sure I played with Steve before too, so
Yeah, I recognize the name.
mhm. I feel like an idiot. Sorry, guys. Hopefully, they don't egg
All
me when
right.
I'm on stage or something.
It'll be like, a week or two till they see this.
Good.
Um, so like what like era I guess you would say would be like when you like formed your first band?
Oh man, all the way back in high school, we
Yeah,
were a
high
pop
school
punk.
years.
Yeah, we were a pop punk band when like Green Day was the biggest pop punk band in like 1996 ish. We were
Okay,
called
yeah.
Lacking Intelligence, and we barely could write songs, couldn't keep our guitars in tune. Like it was a very, very humble beginning.
Yeah,
And
the three chord structure.
exactly, even if it was that many. And then once I graduated from high school, we really played out for like a good solid year. We were all really into it. Other guys kind of moved on. Like I don't think anyone thought the band was going to develop into much more. I think we were kind of happy we even got to play live so often. My next band, I was really into bands like Lagwagon at the time, and kind of like skate punk stuff. So I really wanted to start a band like that. It took about a year or so to kind of get it together. We started touring in 2002. We were called High Five Drive. And as we played, like I love that first album, but from that to the third, like the guitar technicality just went up and up and up. We practiced 3 times a week. I was always playing guitar. Really, really proud. I love all our albums, but really proud of that third one. If anyone ever checks out High Five Drive Full Blast, I think that was probably the best guitar playing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
And we had some success. We went to Europe 4 times. We mowed the lawn in Canada relentlessly. We even snuck into the States once and did a small tour in California. But as kind of like,
Wait,
it was,
how do you sneak into the States?
I'm glad you asked. And I I wish I knew how to now, because I actually had to cancel the US dates on this tour because I couldn't get a work visa in time. That's another story. But what we did, we hooked up with another band. We all jumped in a car. So we had one friend who drove and actually owned the car, if I may be honest. The 4 people in the band, so 5 total. We crossed into the States, going to Las Vegas where the tour was starting. We are like, this bunch of guys going to party in Vegas. I even rented a hotel room. So if they asked where you're staying, I had an address. And like going to party in Vegas on New Year's, it seemed plausible enough. Like, well, okay, how do you know each other? We barely do. We're just friends. I think the big mistake bands make when they're trying to sneak in, it's always like some kind of a flaky story, like recording contract, or they don't say they're just there for a holiday or visiting friends, but it's like 4 of them together. They look like a band. They all have band t-shirts, they have tattoos. So it's not that hard to pick. I always tell bands, like our story, I guess, seemed good enough, and maybe it was far enough back. This was like 2010. Other bands I talk to that get caught or don't get caught, like they come in, they all dress nice. They don't walk in together, or they take, like, if they take the train or the plane, they all sit in different spaces. They don't talk. And that way it looks way more plausible. You're actually just going to visit friends or family. And that's another thing I always say, if you're trying to sneak in, say you're visiting family. That's what normal people do. Going in to visit a friend you met on the internet to border people is like, that's weird. You're the first person to say that today. Everyone else is visiting family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope I don't go to jail over this. But Greg
No,
Rekus says how to sneak in the States.
no, they got bigger problems. They're not worried about that.
Yeah, we borrowed all the gear. It was a fun tour. It was with these guys, Murder Majesty. But it didn't, like, the shows weren't that great. It didn't add up to a lot. I'm glad we did it, but I've had way more success and luck touring by myself and just consistently going every year and really developing like that.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that makes sense though. You know, you go into another country, but it's like believable, rather
Yeah.
than like you said, oh, just met someone online or some stupid thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you have like no money. You have like a credit card. That's your only funding source. Like it looks sketchy. And ultimately I've crossed into the States as a musician now like 30 something times. Ever so often, like the computer stalls when they're trying to activate my paperwork, or and you kind of make small talk. One guy was telling me, like, we cross like 400,000 people each a year. We don't have time to like ask all the questions. You ask a very simple question, and if the person answers weird or like looks like they're lying, now you got to ask follow-up questions. And sometimes it's as easy as like, where are you coming from? And if the person stumbles, instead of like, I'm coming from Vancouver, or oh, I live in Winnipeg, like if something like that happens, they're going to ask follow-up questions, and that's how people get caught. But if you go there like confidently with like a plausible story, you'll probably be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, one little thing you screw up on in the conversation and boom, strip search.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially like looking like we do, right? Having piercings, tattoos, weird hair. Like,
Yeah. Um, so like you know, as a musician, like who are your influences?
oh man, all over the board.
Yeah.
One, again, when I was first starting, there was like a local band called the Bonaducci's I loved. And part of the reason is they just made it accessible. Whereas before that, it just seemed like unattainable. I'll never play in like a band, or only like big musician, whatever. It's cool people get to play in bands. And then you meet a local band that's just very normal dudes. And like I loved the songs. I think they were exceptional songs, really cool guys, great music. But it didn't seem like, man, I could never be that. And the first time I kind of saw that with a touring band was a band called Monine. And
Oh,
like music,
Monin, I saw Monin
yeah,
before, yeah.
yeah, they're like phenomenal local band. And again, they were just like dudes. Like you could hang out with them after the show. They'd talk to you for like an hour if you wanted. So I absolutely love that aspect. And for the folk punk thing, Mr. Brew was a big influence once I discovered that stuff. But then it was kind of like just rubbing two sticks together, almost just writing like, I don't know, how do you write acoustic songs? And hearing his stuff really got me into like, oh, raspy voices are kind of fun, kind of cool. And then Johnny Hobo or like Wingnut Dishwasher Union. I can't remember the guy's real name. But he was an influence too. I've heard through the grapevine he's trying to play again and stuff. And I don't think my music sounds like him. AJJ also, like Andrew Jackson Jihad, another folk punk dude I thought was really, really cool. 90s punk just in general, I could probably rattle off 25 bands. All those bands were a huge inspiration to play music. And they were also kind of like big bands, don't get me wrong. I think all those guys like didn't have day jobs while they were doing that. At the same time, it wasn't so big. Like you would see them running their own merch at times, or you could like, oh, they're like hanging out with a beer watching the band, and you'd be like, man, I love your band. Oh, thanks, man. Like the cheers or something. I thought it was so cool. It just seemed like it's just people playing music as opposed to like we are on
Yeah.
a pedestal
Just
on
like
the
regular
stage.
dudes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was one really big thing again that kind of got me into the scene and to want to be a part of this of like, man, anyone can do this. And I hope I've always kind of given that impression to people that when I'm at a show, I seem approachable. People can come up just like blah, blah, blah with me. Or if they really like my music and want me to like sign somebody, take a picture, I'm always happy to do that. But like, even if we just want to chat for a little bit, like that's the best part too about touring.
Yeah, totally, man. Do you write everything on acoustic?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When I re-record records, the acoustic does run through an amp. We mic up the acoustic like there's like five different guitar tracks in all recordings. We have like the DI, the mic, a couple mics on the amp, so ambient room thing. This album, I thought we could have went a little bit the one I just did, Sinners Go to Church, Saints Go to Jail. I thought we could have done a bit more amp, hearing the mix now on like several different sources. But so there is kind of an electric component to recording. When I play live, it's just acoustic.
Yeah. Actually, I was just about to ask you, where did he record Sinners?
At a place called Private Ear in Winnipeg. And if anybody wants to record a record, first of all, the engineer John Paul Peters is excellent, and he is like go to book him a year in advance. Like he's done tons of propaganda stuff, he's done comeback and stuff, Mobina galore, kind of anything that's like kind of leaving Winnipeg. It's probably been him. He's got a great ear, nicest guy to work with. He makes it so comfortable. Like it's incredible how you just feel like you're hanging out and doing some tracks. It doesn't feel like there's stakes on the table. Like, oh God, if I don't get this record ain't gonna get finished. And he's also really good at like cutting stuff and like all cards on the table. None of that is one takes. I think our sax player is really hot. I think he nailed one take on one song. It was a one take wonder. Everything else, like I'll sing the song three times and we'll just cut it together to make kind of a super take. And we don't do, I got a call. Sorry about that. We don't do any like pitch correction or stuff like that. It is all my singing at the same time. It's like the best version of me singing the song three times. But he is amazing where it's like, man, that's the best ever sang it. But I was a little flat on that one note. You could just steal that from the take. I wasn't flat on that. So if
Yeah.
people see that as cheating, hey, I'm a cheater. You know, I think if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. But at the
I
same time,
it
yeah,
can be looked at in my I think it could be some could perceive it as cheating and others could say, "Hey, you know what? Let's speed up time."
yeah, like if anybody
Yeah.
wants to return a record because they thought it was all one takes, like if that's the reason you bought it, because you're looking for like authenticity of that caliber, I mean, we could do it all one take and it just wouldn't be great. As much as I'm happy with my vocals, I think I'm a great singer. I'm not that good. Like to make it something I'd want to record and release. And the other part is like everyone else is doing this to try to keep up, like to be the one band that doesn't, and then you have to put like a disclaimer on the album, like, by the way, it doesn't sound good because we did all one take. Like that's to me, that's lame. It's still our songs, we still wrote it, it's still all our singing. It's just, we just used a bit of help kind of thing. Like we didn't necessarily cork the bat, um, but we wore really, really good shoes when we swung at the plate.
I hear you. Um, uh, s- uh, So how many albums have you done?
If you include everything like the band years, I think I've lost track. I'm over 10 albums. But in
Oh
terms of just my
shit.
my solo thing, the first album I released was The Dude Abides, and that was just me and the Stomp, and there was one kazoo solo on it, and the guitar, of
I
course.
haven't heard that. I want to check that out. What's it called?
Yeah, The Dude Abides. That's cool. It's where I started. My voice wasn't quite figured out yet. Like I was still kind of experimenting, but I think the songs were really strong. I think one thing I've been consistent on is I've always been a great songwriter, and I'm really proud of the songs. I'm gonna spoiler. I want to re-release that album. And right
Oh
now I'm
yeah.
kind of in the middle of touring Sinners and I'm pushing that album really hard. I'll be back in Europe in the spring. Next year I'm gonna do less, but I'm gonna try to get back to the States. And if you want to talk about later, I'm having issues with paperwork. That's another story. After that's done, my next plan is to re-release The Dude Abides. And I want to do like a full year of touring that old album. Because it'll be 15 years since that one came out.
Oh sweet.
Next on
Um,
my yeah, oh, sorry, what were you say?
when you say like re-release, like are you gonna like do some like remastering?
Maybe we'll probably do it on vinyl. I'm not
Oh,
against doing CDs again. CDs for me is kind of like you do the album, you release it at some point on discs just so people have that option. And a lot of friends too will like, I just bought your CD because I like you. I listen to it on Spotify. It's just some type of physical media they can buy. When you try to
yeah.
sell an MP3, I find these days nobody has MP3s on their phone anymore. Most people just stream music. So it's almost like trying to sell a little card is lame, but people would buy a CD. Maybe they have an older car that still has a CD player. Like that isn't dead quite yet. Vinyl, on the other hand, totally different story. Vinyl has come back. People like it to add to the collection, get a nice big piece of artwork. And that album has never been on vinyl. So that's the idea behind that. We'll like remaster it for vinyl. We'll release it on vinyl, and that will be the re-release of The Dude Abides.
Sweet. I actually, you know what? I actually like CDs because it's a good souvenir.
Yeah,
Especially like if you
exactly.
go to like a fucking show and grab one, right?
Yeah, I've had like people that have tape labels, cassette tapes have said like, oh, if they want to release, and I'm always down for that. If anyone with a cassette tape label is listening, like you let me know, man, if we'll figure it out if we want to do that. But for now, it's just on vinyl and CD, the new record, and then that's kind of my release down the tube. But it's still coming down the tube. It hasn't been done yet, so if it doesn't happen, don't email me with death threats or anything.
Um,
We have after that, I did the Dude Abides, which was my first band record. And that one we had a drummer, this guy Mikey Erg. I don't know if you ever heard of the band the Ergs.
the
And from like,
Ergs.
yeah, like we're going back over 10 years. They were kind
Oh
of bigger
no,
in the pop
no.
punk scene. Kind of like the Ramones would be the best way to describe them. They sound different, but just that genre of like downstroke fast kind of pop punk.
Okay.
And exceptional drummer. He had a pretty successful solo career, still does. Amazing guy. He was going to play drums on the record. Flies into Winnipeg. And unfortunately, where you were talking about getting into countries, he was like, oh, I'm just going to visit my friend Greg. Well, they went as far to Google my name, and online I had posted he's playing drums on my record.
Ooh.
And he was like, well, honestly, he wasn't getting paid anything, but that was enough for them to deny him access. And he got banned from Canada for like 5 years. It was a tragedy. Got another friend who was going to fill in. That friend had to cancel last minute for whatever reasons. So we ended up with this hired gun on the record. And I don't know if anyone's listening, if everyone's familiar with the recording process. I'll just like very, very quickly. You'll record the drums and then you'll do like a scratch track where maybe I sing and I play guitar. None of that will be kept. It's just the drums we're focusing on. And if you listen to the scratch tracks, it's me like giving the drummer uh, cues of like not yet, now, and then he does a fill and like okay, the slow part now, and then he changes time. Like he barely knew those songs, so it is just like to Jamie's, the guy who played drums, his ability of just winging it and making it sound good. So that was my punk acoustic record, and I think some of my strongest songs. People still love that record. After that, there was Sibling Cities. That was my breakup record. I went through a really, really, really hard breakup. I was having problems with my voice. Like it was, I think, some of my weakest vocal performances. And I'm always so sad because I really, really like the songs and I play a lot of them today. But I kind of listen to like a live take of me playing it and you listen to the record and like, man, I wish I could redo the vocals on that one now. Like that would be my one regret. And then Death and Taxes, I did that. That was the full band. You know, the sax player joined up. Really, really strong album. And that's when COVID happened. And that album just nosedove. You know, sales went from not tons, like it's building to zero. But the album I'm touring now, I'm also really happy. People have said it's one of the best things I've ever done, and it has already been really, really well received. So I'm really, really stoked to try to put it in people's hands, the vinyl version or the CD.
Awesome. Um, yeah, you mentioned COVID. Like, so during those years, was it just, doing like I guess tech stuff, just doing a lot of writing and recording at that time?
No, no. So tech stuff pretty much went to zero. I'm a live tech. I don't do
Oh
any
yeah,
recording.
live,
So
yeah. That would have
So I
fucked
went
you.
to zero. I had just literally put out a new record, as in 2 months before that. So I didn't have any new songs. I wasn't keen on recording anything new. What I did, like, first of all, I went crazy. I drank a lot and was very unhealthy. I gained a bunch of weight. Like, it was a really low point in my life. And so much of it, if I can kind of reflect, or like, I don't want to trigger anyone if anyone had a tough time with it too. We all did, and my sympathy to everyone, but
I'm in
not
recovery, by the way.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not knowing what was going to happen. That was the hard part for me. Of like, is this the next 5 years? Is this the next 10 years? Will we never go back? Will COVID just get worse and worse and worse to where like you literally have to stay indoors? So like not knowing anything right at the start. And then as it went on, like you kind of got more used to it. What I did to cope is I started a YouTube channel and it was called Far From Regular, and I never intended to be monetized. I ended up doing about 30 videos, I think 30 to right on point. And it was just fun stuff. Like I'd research a topic, whether it was music related, science or space related, or video game related. And then I'd shoot a video of me in the van, just kind of reading my script. And then I would cut that with B-roll. And it was great. It never got that popular and I never expected it to, but it kept me busy. It kept me focused. And then by the end of 2020, kind of started 2021, work was starting to open up. There was a lot more potentials for live stuff, with like social distancing stuff and whatever. So I was okay by then. By then, I kind of finished the channel. If everyone's interested, I'll admit I haven't put any work into it for literally years because I've been so busy with this. But the channel is called Far From Regular, and there's still 30 videos up that I thought were kind of fun, lo-fi, like not professional, but fun.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, during the COVID years, I wasn't doing anything really, I guess you would say, in the professional sense.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, me myself, I got uh I've recorded one album. I got like a bunch of material for my second album. The sitting kind of like at like three different studios, songs here, songs here, songs here. And I'm just sort of like waiting for like the right time to like uh, to release it, you know?
100%. And the release these days, I have a friend actually just started an electronic music project, and he is like never ever. He was always kind of like a punk dude, and he wanted to do band stuff where he played everything, and this was like out of left field, and it's great, but it's such a different world, and I'm kind of learning that of like, and you could just do a single once a week or once a month or whatever, keep releasing at that, and you'll get attention. I've taken the different route. I'm kind of more the old school where I want to press the physical copies. I want the album, and I want to tour and sell that to people, and it works for me. I'm not getting rich doing it at the same time. I'm still doing it. My head's above water, and I usually sell enough records to make the next one. So that's great. But any way you approach releasing albums is awesome, and no one can tell you what to do. It's up to you.
No, yeah, it's like, that's up to the artist, right?
And whatever works, and whatever expectations you have too. I always say, like, if you just jam with your buddies once in a while and that's how you approach music, great. Like, don't let anyone tell you got to do it more or less. It's fine or whatever.
Yeah. Um, uh, so on that note, you're playing at the terminal tomorrow. I'm gonna be
Yep.
there.
Awesome.
Shows at 8.
I think so.
Yeah, okay, sweet.
That's that's the plan. I can't remember if I'm in the middle or I'm going last. I think I might be in the middle. We're gonna make a touring Greg sandwich, but
Nice. Do you know how long your set is?
Oh, about 30 minutes to 45. I always say if you don't like me in 30, you won't like me in 45 either. So we might keep it shorter sets, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
No, dude, everyone who's there is gonna fucking like you. You're awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I'm stoked, man. Nanaimo has always been good buddies and a fun time. And now it's a Friday night.
yeah. Cool. So yeah, I'll throw your website in the YouTube caption. People can check out your music, your merch, tour dates, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, all the dates are up there. It's the best way to find the dates. I think there's a link to the Spotify. If you search me on whatever streaming service, you'll find me. And the biggest compliment is people listening to my music. If you take the time to have a listen, that's amazing. And I'm thanking people in advance.
Awesome, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, man.
Yeah,
And
thanks so much for this. Appreciate the chat, man.
yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for doing the show. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. Have a good day, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, awesome. Y'all are off. The East Van Dan shit show. Peace.
Woo.
Later, man.
Later.